Okay, so let's start our discussion about the current affairs for today. So if you see the first news, this is about the Aadhaar card. Since a long time, like this event that is happening in Bihar, we're reading this news continuously again and again, wherein Election Commission and the Supreme Court, we see some tussle happening because of some documents. Now we saw that in Bihar, election is going to take place. Before that, Election Commission of India decided that they will go for something called SIR, Special Intensive Revision of the electoral roll that they have. Now when they are revising it, they asked all the citizens or all the people who are going to vote, they have to confirm their identity. Now, for that, for the verification purpose, because they want to update this electoral roll list, what they said is under this SIR, what they will do is they'll just verify your documents. Now, here, Election Commission of India came with 11 documents. They said this is the list that we have of 11 documents, and you have to show at least one out of these 11 documents. Now, the problem was it was sometimes difficult to have these documents, and most importantly this voter ID as well as this ration card as well as this Aadhaar card. These were the documents which were not being considered out of these 11 documents. So what happened is this case went to Supreme Court, wherein Supreme Court was of the opinion that you should accept Aadhaar card because anyway Aadhaar card is more or less acceptable for almost all the schemes of the government. Election Commission was saying that it is not it is not a proof of citizenship for a person. But anyway, the action they are taking, that is not about checking citizenship. That is actually about just verifying the identity. See, checking citizenship is altogether a different thing. And just checking whether you are the same person or not, just checking your identity, that's a different thing. And Aadhaar card could be a document which should be acceptable as an identity proof. That was the argument of Supreme Court. But what happened in recent times is, even after Supreme Court giving this advice that you should consider it, and this was said to the Election Commission, we did not see the same thing happening in reality. What was really happening, or the people who were questioning this entire process, they said that the booth level officers, they are still not accepting, they are refusing Aadhaar card despite Supreme Court order. They're refusing it. What is exactly happening is, if there is any booth level officer and let's say he's accepting Aadhaar card, in that case Election Commission is putting some pressure on them. Election Commission is taking some action or giving them threatening them of some kind of action, disciplinary action will be taken against them if they allow Aadhaar card in this particular case. And that's where people are asking question. So because Supreme Court has given the order that Aadhaar card should be used, and here you're not allowing them to use it. So that was the major concern in this particular case. You see the Supreme Court ruling. Aadhaar must be accepted like other valid documents, passport, voter ID, birth certificate, etc. And election commissions to publicize this directive so that all the voters will be aware of it. And election commission can verify Aadhaar card's authenticity and genuineness, but they cannot reject it outrightly. They can question its authenticity, or whether it is an authentic document or not, whether this is a fraudly made document or what. You can question that. But outrightly saying, no, will not use Aadhaar card, this is something Election Commission should not do, is what Supreme Court is saying. Okay, that was the order already given, is what we see in this particular case. Okay, so again, we see this is the question being asked in the Supreme Court, and they are again saying that Aadhaar should be accepted as identity proof. Okay, so this is in news continuously, we see all this happening. Now in case Election Commission doesn't listen to this, or any officer doesn't listen to this, the Supreme Court has got the power to go for contempt of court, because Supreme Court or court's order has to have this supreme authority. If someone doesn't accept that, then that is considered to be contempt of court. Okay, so that was this news about this SIR. Now next news item, this is written by Brinda Karat. She is a senior leader of CPI party. Domestic sphere in New India. Now she is actually criticizing the government, criticizing the authorities, especially with respect to women. Now see what she's specifically talking about. She's talking about the problems women are facing. For example, so she has used the data given by National Family Health Survey 5, NFHS 5. Using the data, she has talked about the problems women are facing. For example, there's violence against women. For example, dowry death or partner violence. Many times it has been observed that the intimate partner of the person is committing some kind of violence against women. For example, you see the data given by NFHS, 70,000 women, they die annually. 2017 to 2022 data. This talks about the women dying because of these problems happening in their domestic sphere. Or 30% women face partner violence. Their partner goes for some kind of violence against them. 30%. Now this is the data coming from NFHS. And even if we have a basic assumption that government data, whatever data is coming up, maybe the numbers could be even more than that. So we can understand the seriousness of this particular situation, right? Then this heavy burden of unpaid domestic and care work. Women face this problem wherein unpaid work is a major burden for women. See, a woman working at home, making some food for everyone, let's say cleaning all the utensils, cleaning the clothes, whatever all these tasks, all the women in India or maybe in other countries, they're doing these tasks, they're doing it free of cost. Nobody's recognizing their work, nobody's paying them for the work they're doing. Just assume if you had to do this work, you should have asked for some payment, right? If you let's say if you are someone to come and cook at your home, you will have to pay some amount. But the women at our houses, they're doing it free of cost. This is something we call as unpaid domestic work. And there is some care work also which they are doing. Let's say there is a child, they're taking care of the child free of cost. They're not asking for any payment as such. Now we have this perception that this is the task women are supposed to do, but this is coming from the patriarchal structure wherein we don't give due recognition to this particular work, and we don't recognize this work as an important work. We don't even pay for it, and we don't even think about the payment part. If you start counting it out, then that work will also be paid and that amount will be substantial. Okay, so this is something we see. You see this data, women spend 6 to 7 hours a day on unpaid work versus men are spending hardly 2 hours. They're spending 7 hours almost on domestic work. Are they getting paid for it? No. Is anyone recognizing this work? No. Most of the people feel that women are doing nothing. But in reality, they're actually working more than the men. This is something we need to recognize or we need to understand. Okay? And because of this patriarchy existing, women are seen as reproducers and not the right bearers. What we simply mean over here is, women are looked as a kind of instrument or a kind of object. They're just supposed to reproduce the babies, take care of the babies, that's it. They don't have any other role to play. That's what the society is thinking, or that's what the society is constructing in the form of patriarchy. So all these are the real problems of women. If we see in terms of structure, women's unpaid labor subsidizes economy, or simply to say, you're not recognizing their work. When you're calculating GDP, if let's say you have to give payment to women for this unpaid work, that will again be counted as part of GDP, right? It excludes women from formal workforce and wages. When women are involved in all this domestic work, what happens is they will have less time available for any other work. So let's say they want to go out and work, they want to go for let's say 8 and 9 hours of shift. They are not able to do it, most of the women, because of these all domestic and care works. They're not able to do that. They're getting less time as compared to males. They're getting less time. Okay, and those who are managing, still they're going for job also and they're coming back. Then they have something called dual burden. They have something called dual burden of work. One, the professional work they have to do, and then again come to home and do all the works of home. What about the men? They're doing this work at office, and at home they're doing nothing. Hardly they are doing anything. So these are the problems we have to observe when it comes to women. Now, as a way forward, she suggests that we have to first of all recognize this unpaid care work, unpaid domestic work women are doing. First recognize, at least recognize. Then the second step that comes into picture is to redistribute this work. Females are supposed to do this work, males are also supposed to do this work. Then you have to redistribute, give some work to men also. Okay, this should be your first thing. Second, you can provide state facilities like child care, elderly care, health care. All these facilities can be provided by the state so that women will not be bound by all this work. Okay, this child health care or this elderly care, state will take care of it. State will have some mechanism, some institutions taking care of all these things. This could be one way. Then you can ensure equal wages and social security for women workers. Right now we don't see equal salary, equal wage being provided to women. They get less paid. Okay, so we can make it equal. Secondly, provide some social security, provide some subsidies, some benefits, some amount of money for the work they are doing. For the unpaid work also that they are doing, you can pay them something to provide that security. And challenge this regressive customs of family or marriage which create problems for them. Okay, so already government has come up with many things like we have this dowry prohibition act, we have acts for this domestic violence. Similarly, we have to bring something to protect them, few more acts, few more legal mechanisms to protect them from any of the custom which is patriarchal in nature. Okay, these are all the suggestions given in this particular article. Okay, the next article, I think this screenshot is not there for this newspaper clipping, but the article is about National Institutional Ranking Framework, that is NIRF. Now, first of all, you see, NIRF, this was launched in 2015 by Ministry of Education. Earlier Ministry of Education, name was different. We changed the name, made it Ministry of Education. So in 2015, they said they're coming up with some kind of ranking for the educational institutions in India. So we'll rank the institutions. Now, first ranking was released in the year 2016. And the idea was we focus on this higher education institutes. So let's say there are institutions working in, let's say, engineering, medicine, all these fields, higher education part. And we will rank them so that there will be motivation among institutions to compete with others. They will compete, and in the name of competition, they will work hard, improve their quality. Okay, that was the idea. Now, when initially they started in 2016, we see 3,565 institutions joining or becoming part of this ranking. Right now in 2025, there are around 14,000 institutions who are part of it. So the program or this ranking in all, this includes so many institutions, which is a good thing. Okay. Now, if you look at the good thing about this ranking, how do they rank? They have some parameters. So they have total this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 parameters they have given, and according to the weightage given to these parameters, they will decide which institute is at number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Likewise, the entire list will be made. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute. Just go through these rankings, all the 5 parameters. Just read it once. Okay. Done. See, maximum weightage is given to these two things: teaching, learning, and resources, research, and professional practice. Then some part given to the other parameters. Considering all the weightage, they are going to rank all the institutions. Right now, it includes all the 17 categories, includes universities, colleges, engineering, management, medical, law, pharmacy, dental, research institutions, agriculture, architecture, innovation. All these things are part of it. Okay. Now, moving ahead. The article specifically talks about the pitfalls in this NIRF framework? What are the problems or issues that we can find out with respect to this ranking? First thing is, there is this peer perception, because if you see the parameters, this peer perception is given 10%. What people think about this institute, this is about peer perception. Now it's very subjective and someone could be biased. I might think that this particular university or this particular college is very nice. In reality it is not nice, but I feel that. So it is very much subjective. It gives more importance to reputation than the actual performance. There could be colleges which have good reputation, but in reality their quality in terms of education is worse. That can happen. So this is a problem with respect to peer perception. There's one problem with the parameter. Second, there is this problem with outreach and inclusivity when it comes to these rankings. So you see, the focus is on regional and gender diversity. What about economically disadvantaged, socially marginalized and disabled students? So what happens is, these rankings give importance to inclusivity. They say that if your institute includes different kinds of people, or it is very inclusive, let's say females and males are in substantial number, females are also in substantial number, or regionally you have students from different regions, then you will be ranked higher. This is something NIRF is already doing. This is a good thing. Bad thing is, they are not considering these aspects. Think about it. Let's say there is one college and they have inclusivity in terms of socially marginalized students. Let's say it includes SC students, ST students, OBC students, open also. They also includes persons with disabilities. Such an inclusive college is there. But still, that college will not be ranked higher because nobody is considering this part of inclusivity. So this is a problem that we are trying to talk about when it comes to the parameters. So if you see, outreach and inclusivity given 10% weightage, but this inclusivity doesn't include all these dimensions. Okay, so this is a problem that we can observe. Then there is over reliance on metrics. For example, dependence on bibliometric data and self-reported inputs. What you do is, to give this ranking, this NIRF is asking for data from the colleges. Colleges themselves are providing data related to them. Now you tell me, if I am providing data related to me, I'll show good data, right? I can manipulate the data. This is something we see happening over here. Nobody is checking if the data is right or fake. That's one problem. And there are concerns with respect to equity also, because as we said, OBC, SC, ST, whether these faculties are also there or not in your institute, nobody is checking. Okay, so all these things, if I have to roughly say, this NIRF, the ranking is a good thing that you started with, but still it has some pitfalls, some problems which are still existing in it, which we all need to deal, or let's say government is supposed to deal with it. They need to improve this NIRF ranking and change all these things. Okay, now next article, again I could not put this clip, but this article talks about India and Iran. So if you see the article given in the editorial page, so here I think the ambassador of Iran, he has written an article about the importance of India and Iran with respect to the present time in the international relations. Now in international relations, you need to understand one thing. Right now, the world order is changing and they are also talking about the same thing. Right now, there is problem or crisis in the world order. The present world order which we see existing is a West-led liberal international world order. West-led, that means it was led by Western countries, specifically to say it is United States of America. And right now this world order is in crisis. Now in this particular crisis, what we see is the decline of the West and the emergence of the rest of the countries. Let's say we take the example of BRICS or the emerging economies, China, India, even let's say take example of Iran. These are the countries which are emerging now. Whereas if you see the Western countries, they are on decline. Now that's what he's talking about. If you see, we observe decline of US and West in all these things. Let's say earlier they had financial monopoly. They were having the military power, military strength to go for intervention anywhere across the world. So they used to go anywhere. Let's say US attacked Afghanistan suddenly, they attacked Iraq suddenly. They could go for all these things, right? Media control, if you see, US or Western countries had substantial control over media, and they always used to talk about human rights, and sometimes in the name of human rights they have gone for committing many crimes. The point is, all of these things they could do earlier. Right now they're not able to do it, or some decline is something that you can observe in this West led order. Okay, the writer also talks about the global crisis already going on, so much violence, so much inequality, environmental destruction. All this shows that there is some problem with this Western led order in the international world. Okay, now he says that you have to observe, when the West is going down, the global South is coming up. It is on emergence, it is emerging right now. And here it says that nations are rejecting the domination of Western world. West was dominating, now this global South is somewhat rejecting that. See the attitude of Iran over here. Iran continuously is rejecting what USA is saying. They're rather showing this tactic of maximum resistance. USA is putting maximum pressure, Iran is showing maximum resistance. They're not listening to what they're saying. If you see recently whatever happened between India and USA, India has also shown similar thing. We also said that strategic autonomy matters to us. We will take our own decisions. Nobody will tell us, especially with respect to this Russian oil that we are buying. So this is something already happening, showcases that West is in decline and others are rising. Okay. Also, these global South countries, they are building their indigenous science and technology. They're making their defense a little bit stronger. And when this happens, what eventually we will see is the multipolar world order. Okay, right now you need to observe, after the World War II, there were two superpowers in the world. There were two poles in the world, one led by USA, one led by USSR. But after 1990s, we see USSR collapsed, disintegrated. After that, there was just one superpower, and that was United States of America. Okay, so this kind of a world we call as unipolar world. There was just one pole. Whatever US wanted would happen. Now what is happening is we are moving towards multipolarity. Okay, so there will be multiple poles. US is one pole, China one pole, India one pole, Russia one pole, likewise so many poles. So we are entering into a new world order, which is multipolar world order. Okay, now because the writer is talking about India and Iran, so he'll talk about the civilizational state of Iran and civilizational state of India. He says that our countries are not just modern nation states. We are existing since years. We were also existing in ancient times. So we are civilizational states. And because we are civilizational states, we have some values. We have some common values that you can see that is there in Iran also and India also. For example, value of spirituality, independence, resilience, and that's what we are right now showing against this West or the hegemony of West. Okay. Now he talks about we need South-South cooperation. The person as an ambassador of Iran to India, he's talking about South-South cooperation that we need in this particular time. And here, BRICS is a good platform is what he's trying to say. Anyway, right now Iran is also part of BRICS, India is part of BRICS, and BRICS is a platform for multipolar world order. Okay, so now maybe he's talking about give importance to BRICS more than the World Bank, more than the United Nations. That's what he's talking about. Or he talks about this international north-south transport corridor. If we build this transport corridor, and this BRI project of China is also continuing, all these are what they're trying to do is they're going to connect Eurasia, Caucasus, India, Africa, all these regions can be connected. Now INSTC already India and Iran, we are developing this Chabahar project in Iran, and using this port we are trying to connect this with this INSTC project. So they're saying this is an important project we need to work on. All this, if we combine, we can say that if South-South cooperates, we can create a new world order, and this new world order is going to be very important. That's what the article is trying to say. Okay, they talked about United States intervention in the West Asia, which has created so many problems. Let's say creation of Israel, then destabilizing Palestine, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Iran, using of terrorism. All these things they have done already. There was only one country in this West Asia, that was Iran, that is resisting, is what they are saying. Right now also we are resisting whatever West is trying to do over there. And they're saying India and Iran, because we are part of global South, we are strong countries and we are civilizational states, we should cooperate, and we have some strategic significance with respect to India Iran relationship. For example, civilizational heritage, similarity in terms of the values, and we want that there should not be any hegemony. Iran also feels the same, India also feels the same, so values are similar. Then we have opportunities in terms of energy, trade, connectivity, the role in BRICS. All these is something that is common. Iran also wants all these things. India also wants. We want to buy oil or something from Iran. Iran wants to sell. There is similar thought. The trade angle that is possible. Both Iran as well as India favor multipolarity and favor independent foreign policies. We also want independent foreign policy. We don't want USA should dominate or anyone should dominate on our foreign policy, that whatever they say we have to do. We don't like that. That's why India wants strategic autonomy. Iran also wants the same. Iran also is not listening to them. That's why so many things are happening, is what we can observe. So eventually they are saying this is a turning point in history, and I'm telling you, this is truly a turning point in history, because after this, whatever happened, the world is going to change completely. There will be change in the world order, and that's where they are saying that India and Iran can model a just, participatory, multipolar order. Okay, this is something you can use in answers. It's a good line to write in the answers. Okay, good article. Yes. Now the last article, that's about Israel finance minister visiting India and signing bilateral investment treaty. So you can see this person visiting India. Now you just need to know what is this bilateral investment treaty. You see, let's say there are some investors living in Israel. They want to invest some amount of money in India. So that's about the FDI we are talking about. So they want to invest in some companies in India, but they are concerned about few things, that if suddenly government changes their policy, brings some extra tax, and if there are some problems with the government of the time, then what about these investors investment? So investors think about the long term thing. So to ensure that all these investors are secure, they need a treaty, an agreement. That's what this bilateral investment treaty is all about. It's an agreement between two countries to protect and promote investments by each other's nationals and companies, and it provides investor confidence, encourages FDI, protects against unfair treatment. So what we try to do is we try to provide some confidence to all the investors that, see, we will be following these basic rules, there won't be any change in these rules, so you can be assured that you can invest and your investment will be preserved, you'll be making profit, you'll have good time. Okay, this is something we will say. They will also say the same thing. When both sides are doing this thing, that becomes your bilateral investment treaty. Oh, okay, this is something we are signing with Israel right now. Make sense? So that's all for today from this current affairs part. We'll meet tomorrow with the next session. Thank you so much.